Hello. All right.
Well, everybody, thanks for coming, for Senator Warren, and thank Senator Warren for coming, as it obviously is becoming inclement out there, to use a phrase, but it's very warm and friendly in here. And Senator, as you can see, we've got a full house of a number of students. I know they're primed to talk with you, and we have trustees of the college in this row here and over here, and city councilwoman over here, Shana Burnham.
Good to see you. Thank you.
And do some introductions later, but we all know Senator Elizabeth Warren, and she's a strong figure for consumer rights, financial protection of consumers, for the middle class, strong record as a law professor at Harvard University. I could go into her bio, but I'd rather not. I'd rather say Senator Warren is here. She's a friend, most importantly today, of public college and private college university students, concerned with your access, concerned with affordability, and of course concerned with quality of what we do. And I know from direct experience with the senator, as well as Senator Markey, that our two senators are very concerned with what we do for you, and then the opportunities that you students seek out here. So, without further introduction, Senator Elizabeth Warren, our United States Senator.
So thank you, Dr. Wall, for doing this. I saw Senator Kennedy as he made it in here. There he is, right here at the edge. Representative Brady, good to see you. It's good to be here with you all today. I thought maybe what we would do, I love being back on campus. It's the right place. I thought maybe what we'd do today is I just talk for a couple of minutes and then try to take as many questions as we've got time before we decide that we all better hit the road. But I wanted to talk with you all just a little bit about public universities and the importance of our investment in public universities. I talked to you about this really for two reasons. Partly, this is just from the heart. I'm the daughter of a maintenance man. My mom worked the phones at Sears. I went to a commuter college. Cost $50 a semester. Because I grew up in an America that was still investing in kids. And the idea was, if you could go to a private school, God bless you. But if you couldn't, you could count on an affordable option that gave you a good education at a public school. So I have a public undergraduate degree. I went to a public law school. By then it was really getting pricey. I paid about $450 a semester. I had some scholarship money, I had some loan money, I had some work study money. I mean, that's how you can piece it together. And I graduated from school with a little bit of debt, in a world in which if you were willing to do things that were back then called in the national interest, which included teaching, they would forgive a portion of your debt. So I grew up the beneficiary of an America that said, we're going to give every kid who wants that chance an opportunity to get an education post-high school, and we're going to help you do it. You got to put in the work, but we'll help you get there. That America has shifted dramatically over the last generation, and I think very much for the worse, and I think this is really bad for our country. And I'm deeply worried about the consequences. The cost now of a public education, I don't have to tell you all about it. We have shifted from a world just a couple of decades ago where basically the state picked up $3 out of $4 of the cost of educating our students. Today it picks up $1 out of $4. That means the other $3 out of $4 have to come out of your pockets. And that means you have to get out there and either find scholarship money, if there's any available, or more to the point, borrow money. We now have students who are being crushed by student loan debt. $1.2 trillion in student loan debt out there. And this is the second reason I talk about this. This has powerful ramifications on what the shape of America will be going forward. If we have a country that demands post-secondary education in order to fill the highest paying jobs, in order to have real opportunity, and that is how it looks. This is where we are headed, that 2/3 of all jobs are going to require post-secondary education by the year 2020. That's just where we are. But if the only people who can afford to get that post-secondary education are those who come from families that already have money, then the idea that education is a way for anybody who works hard and plays by the rules to have a chance, that just disappears. So I never thought in a million years I was going to run for the United States Senate. But here I am, a million years later, running for the United States Senate. Now I am the United States Senator, senior senator from the Commonwealth. I know, I still laugh every time I say that. Okay. But you got so much energy you can put into this. I've got the same limits you do, 24 hours a day. You've got to pick your issues on what you're going to fight on. And for me, one of the key issues is going to be on higher ed. And it's going to be about how to make it affordable, how we've got to make public universities affordable for all of our kids, and that means partly it's about investment into those public universities, and it means partly we're going to talk about how it is over time. Universities themselves have got to have some skin in the game in getting their students through in 2 years or 4 years, depending on the kind of institution we've got, and keeping that education affordable for our kids. So that's got to be part of it. But a third part of it is we've got to deal with student loan debt that's out there. And so one of the things I'm going to be talking about are what I'm doing to work on all of those. But in particular, when I get back, one of the things I'm working on is introducing a bill to refinance student loan debt that's out there. So we're going to have all these pieces. That's kind of the overall, kind of the big map of what I want to work on and why I want to work on it, why I think it's so important. But why don't I stop there and why don't we spend this time? You ask me what you want to ask me, tell me what you want me to know, and we'll have back and forth about it. Anybody? Don't be shy. Yes, sir.
It's so good to see you, Senator.
Good to see you.
I would like to talk a little bit about this school first before I ask my questions. I just came in this country 3 years ago.
Mhm.
So when I came, it seems like it was hopeless for me. It's like there's no place for me to go. So having to meet so many people who believe in people, who believe that if you are willing to do it, we will help you make it. And Dr. Walt is one of those people.
Yes, he is.
It's like to come up in this.
Let's do that.
I know it's not easy, but it's possible. And I've been watching you and seeing what you do in life, and it gives me the reason to believe. I'm a child who doesn't know his mom. I don't know my mom. She passed away when I was 4. And I found out my father were alive after I turned 18. So after 18 years, we met together. He brought me in this country 2 years later. So I see him face to face after 20 years. So this story gives me a reason to believe, and knowing that life is not what I think it is, but what I'm trying to make it. It's like having the chance to be at a community college. There is no way in which I can explain it. Words cannot describe it. Like for me personally, I know what it means to be at a place where people care. I know what it means to have a tough life, and I know what it means to be educated. For me, to meet you, it's because of an education. Without that, I wouldn't be able to invite. I'm a student ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
I am a student senator, and I just got elected to be intern at the Governor Deva Patrick, so I'll be intern for him. So
Congratulations.
all of these come from education, and I know so many kids out there. They would like to go to school. They have what it takes, and they can make it. But the fact that they don't really have somebody that can talk to them, make them believe that if you try to make it, we will help you. Like someone like him, it's not gonna be easy for them. My question for you is that, is there anything the government can do to help reduce the cost of the student textbook, which is something that are killing us as of right now? And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. You know, it's a great story, great reminder of what education does. Education is about hope. You know, I always think about this when I meet other teachers, other people who've put their lives into the education system. It's because we all believe in the future. And we all believe that those who work hard and play by the rules have got a real shot. You know, you raise an interesting question about student textbooks as part of this. This is a whole industry that's starting to shift. And it doesn't look today like it looked 10 years ago. A lot more is moving to electronic. A lot more teachers are starting to put pieces together. So the costs going into it, the cost of reproduction are changing because not everybody holds books anymore. We're going to start doing a lot more of this electronically. We're kind of in the transition with ebooks. I think this is one where at this moment, I don't think federal intervention is the right place, but I think we are going to see a big shift there. I think this is one where it's kind of, it's moved from here to here, and I think we're going to see some sudden moves in this area. So this is one where I think right now we're going to wait for the market to see how this plays out.
Thank you.
Who else got a question? Yes, ma'am. Stand up.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I go to Massasoit here. I work 6 jobs and I come to school every single day. My GPA is a 4.0. I work very hard and take my education very seriously. And I know that there's other people, especially in this room and in the entire country, in the state, feel that education is important and it's what they use to bring them through life and bring them to open opportunities for them. But the difficulties with the financial stress of it, with the debt, I feel like it's impacting the ability for students who have the intelligence, who have that hard work ethic, to be able to do what they're able to do that would help this country become what I think it should be, and I think it already is a wonderful country. There's ways to go. What can the government do to help with the debt kind of crisis, with adjust it? You said before that there was ways that it was used to be forgiven if you did certain things. Is that possible to maybe bring that back to some extent also?
So it's a good question. So let's talk for a minute about student loan debt. There are, I think, kind of 3 pieces we should be thinking about right now. One is what the federal government charges on the front end when you get a federally insured student loan. And the reality right now is that these so-called subsidized loans, the federal government is making a profit off them. In fact, over the next 10 years, over the overall student loan program, the federal government will make a profit of about $183 billion. That's off the backs of our students and those who have been students, who have borrowed money to go to school. I think this is just fundamentally wrong. The government should not be making a profit off the backs of students who are trying to get an education. When I introduced a bill last spring, some of you may have followed this, I introduced a bill that said students should not be charged any more than the largest financial institutions are charged to borrow money from the Federal Reserve, which is about 0.75% interest. I didn't get that one, didn't get a vote on it. Although, it put the debate over student loans in a very different context. And that is why every time the federal government lends money, it is supporting and subsidizing those it lends to. Why would it subsidize banks at 3 times the rate, 7 times the rate that it subsidizes those who are trying to get an education? So a big part of what I want to do is wring the profits out of that system. That's where we start. So part of that is going to be where we set the loan rate to begin with. And we've got the loan rate right now in a low interest rate environment. Low, not as low as it should be, but we've got it low, relatively speaking. Second thing we need to do is that we need to refinance the student loan debt that's outstanding. We've got students out there who are paying 7% interest, 8% interest more. Refinance them at least down to today's low student loan rates. What's the impediment against that? Because the federal government has already budgeted to spend the profits out of this system. So this is going to be a real fight. I want you to understand this. This is part of the reason I'm here. I'm going to need people to help me fight in this. This is going to be a real fight going forward, is to say, we got to take the money from somewhere else in this budget. We got to close some of those tax loopholes. We've got to bring that money in, and we've got to use it on helping our students refinance their debt to make it more manageable. So that's the second part. Third part around it is loan forgiveness. We need more programs. We need to enhance our programs that permit loan forgiveness, and I want to focus on one of them. There's a program right now where if you graduate and go into public service, you pay for 10 years onto your loans, and at the end of 10 years, if you still have student loan debt outstanding, you can get forgiveness of the debt that's left. but that's a 10-year commitment to public service, and it's not the commitment everyone wants to make. One of the things I want to at least have the conversation around is whether or not we can get more forgiveness as we go along. That is, if you spend a year or two, it's a way to help pay down your student loans, rather than you've got to make, in effect, a kind of career commitment in this direction. But we need to look for ways to let students do other things in lieu of cash payments on their student loans, and I think this is one of the ones that we can certainly explore. So, I'm going to have a bill pending soon on refinancing student loan debt. Like I said, I think we're pretty good on the interest rates right now. It's not perfect, because I don't want to make any profits off this system. I think it's wrong for us to be making profits. And I also want to work on the student loan forgiveness part. So, we got a lot we can do. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you for coming to Massasoit today.
Oh, I like being here.
I just had a question on something that we might be able to do about grants too. I know people that they get paid to come here and they're doing less than some of the hardest people working here. I've taken 5 classes and I only got a loan, but there's friends that I know personally, they're my best friends, but they only take 3 classes or 4 classes, which I understand, that's all they could do, but they're getting a check at the end of the semester for $300 or more sometimes. And I look at it like, why can't that money, I would be glad to get $200 in a grant. It would help, it's something, and I was just wondering if there's anything that could be done about, we get our bills and then we get our financial aid, to make sure that people aren't getting too much, because I do also buy my books sometimes online, but that's only when I have the extra cash. And if people can do that, great. If they get that little extra check, they deserve it, but getting a lot of money, like an excessive amount, I think that's just too much, and it could be put to other use for other students.
So this is an issue we've talked about, and it's a very interesting point you make, and one that we're trying to dig deeper with the Department of Education to get a better handle on what's going on how the payments are related to credit hours that you're taking. And Dr. Wall has already raised this issue. We had a meeting, what was it, about 3 weeks ago?
Yes.
And talking about the question, to make sure that the federal dollars are being used in the most effective way, and I want to say this in the right way, to help people get through school in a timely fashion. So it's both halves. It's that it's used to pay for your schooling, but that it also helps you maximize that. If you're somebody who can go in the summer, we want to help you do that, and we want to help you do this. Do you want to add to this, Dr. Wall?
Well, I just think
we
that,
did talk about this.
we did talk about that, and you're right on the mark in the sense of what we're trying to do is to make sure the money gets to the people who need it most to complete their education, and that requires a little bit more data. Vice President Tracy and I have talked about that very thing too. He oversees student affairs, so it is something we're aware of. So we continue to assemble the data and think about that, because yes, we need to balance it out. I mean, I know I'm not giving the pathway to making it happen, but we're aware of the question, which is 9/10 of it. I want to echo something the Senator already said about loan forgiveness. I benefited everyone from that myself. But when I started teaching at the college and university level, I was able to write off half of my federal student indebtedness because they taught. Half of it. And it was a big benefit. So.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that happened, I think, a couple of years ago in summer, we used to be able to leverage summer as a semester and award Pell, and that changed, I think, a couple of years ago.
Yes.
That really helped people get a jump start to get those credits that they needed to go, and that would be helpful. It kind of came back.
Right.
It was very helpful to get those students to keep going.
And just so you know, part of what we're talking about here, the Department of Education in Washington sets the rules for the schools about how the money will be given out, what constitutes eligibility, what doesn't, how it's going to be spent. And part of what we're doing here in Massachusetts, basically, as we often do in Massachusetts, we're giving them lots of strong feedback about where it turns out that it's not creating the incentives they want to create. It's not moving us in the direction we need to move in. And so this is one where we don't need to change the federal laws. We need to have more conversations with the Department of Education about the regulations they can put together. They can adjust the regulations if we can make the case for why that needs to be done.
Yeah, because I was thinking, why would a student ever wanna leave if they take 3 classes a semester and get paid to do it and not have to work or?
Yeah, and clearly, we want the incentives to be, get your work done.
Yeah.
But we love you here, and we're glad you have you here, but this, you gotta leave the nest. And it's good to have people doing their work while they're here and then getting out.
Leave the nest with success.
That's right,
Yes.
we like that.
Senator Warren, thank you for being here. My name is Tony Simonelli, and I'm a trustee here at the college. I think, particularly after putting 2 kids through college, I think probably as a parent, one of the main things that we all face is that the formula for financial aid is absolutely horrendous. So if you're at the upper end of the wage scale, you can afford maybe to pay for tuition. If you're a middle of the road average wage earner, you can't afford it, but you're still not getting any financial aid. And my own personal opinion is access to college will always be extremely difficult unless some of that begins to change.
Yeah, I appreciate it, I appreciate the time that all of the trustees put in for the school, and it's so important. But you really do make the key point. Everyone who's willing to work hard should have access to post-secondary education, just period. And they should have that access in a way that means you're not gonna have to take on a student loan bill that can end up crushing. A little student loan, I can live with that. A little student loan that's coupled with some forgiveness on it, I can live with that. But the idea that we're saying, in effect, to the kids, who just come from working families, saying you've absolutely got to have more education in order to have a shot at building any economic security, at building any kind of life for yourself in the future. But hey, you're on your own to pay for it. And the cost just keeps spiraling out of control. We can't do that. We will not build a future for this country if we do that. And so I see this as one, we get this in Massachusetts. I mean, I hope everybody understands that about Massachusetts. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates for people who have post-secondary education in the country. And we have one of the highest rates of post-secondary education in the country here in Massachusetts. Those things work together, but there's cost associated with it, and we have got to find ways to deal with the cost, because we need to be expanding the number of people getting that education, not narrowing it. I should have said this earlier, just because I want you all to be thinking about this. When you think about, is it worth it to invest in college education? Is it worth it to get your diploma? Right now, people will give you this, lots of ways to think about it, but 2020, think about how close 2020 is. By 2020, on our current projections of the number of people coming into school, the number of people dropping out without getting a degree, we're gonna be 5 million people short of filling the jobs that need to be filled by people with post-secondary education. So the need is there. The jobs are gonna be there for you. You've got to get that education, and it's up to the rest of us to help this happen in a way that's affordable. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming, Senator Warren, and thank you for your passion for advocating for students. Someone had to do it. I sit on the Massachusetts Student Advisory Council, and Phenom Visit came to us, and they spoke about a model called Paid Forward. I would like to know your views on Paid Forward.
So there are variations on this, and I always want to be careful about this. The basic idea that when you get out of school and you do well, that you pay more, I'm totally in favor of it. It's known as progressive taxation. I believe that's how the world works. I got out of school and I taught public school. I was an elementary school teacher. I got help from the government in loan forgiveness. I gotta tell you, every time I pay my taxes, I'm still grateful for the help I got on the front end. I believe that because I make more money, I ought to pay more taxes. What worries me about the way some of the pay it forwards are constructed is they say, in effect, it's only the responsibility of those who graduate from this school. The idea behind it being, I don't know if any of you follow these programs, but the idea is you go to school and then you take, in effect, they have a lien against the money you make going forward, and you pay a percentage of your income on into the future. We have to see public education as not the responsibility of a few. It's a responsibility of all of us. We all benefit from everyone having a better education. And so that's the part that troubles me. I want to find good student loans. I want people to have student loans. I want to have ways to have forgiveness for those who go to work, who need some help being able to pay off their loans. But I want public education to be a responsibility for all of us. Let me make one pitch on public education. I just want you to think about it. If your responsibility down in Washington is to think about this whole century and about this country, what this country means, what this country's going to do, think about it this way. We are getting old as a country. Not you and me, but the rest of it. There'll be a time when this is your issue. We know the population is aging. Fastest growing age group, people over 100.
Don't point at me.
Generally. Second fastest growing age group, people over 90, right? Next fastest growing age group, people over 80. That is, people are living longer. This is the projection for the 21st century. As a country, we're not having as many babies, and we're going to have a lot more seniors. Now, the fact that people are living to be 100 doesn't mean they can work until they're 90, right? It's not going to work that way. So we're going to have a lot of years when people need to be supported. I want you to think about this over the 21st century. What is the number one thing we should do as a country in order to still be a place that can support that? We have got to invest in young people. And that means every one of them. Every one of our young people, we have got to treat them like gold coins. And we've got to have everyone able to earn at maximum potential, able to be the most productive they can. Whatever it is that they are going to do, we need to make that investment so they can do their best, because that's our best chance to be able to support this whole country over the 21st century. We can't let it kill their hopes. We can't let it kill their dreams. And that's what scares me about student loans. I tell you, I go out and bang on the table about $1.2 trillion in student loan debt. And I just want you to understand this. I actually feel kind of ambivalent when I do it. On the one hand, I want to ring the alarm. I want to say it's terrible. I want to try to stir other lawmakers to care about this. But there's a part of me that says, I don't want to keep anybody from taking on that loan debt right now. Because I really want you to get out there. I want you to find as affordable an education as you can, but if you gotta borrow money to do it, go borrow the money and get your education. So we gotta watch this. It's bad economically, it's bad individually to carry debt like
And
this.
Senator, along these lines, even though our charges as a community college are about $5,000 a year to take 30 credits, students, am I in the ballpark on this? About 5,000 for 30 credits. Our students' loan debt has gone up markedly over the last 5 to 7 years. And that's just the reality of the difficulties out there with other challenges. And as Vice President Tracy mentioned, the Pell not covering the summer. And we're concerned about it here. We're also, last year, the Commonwealth was very invested wisely in public higher ed, gave us a budget that was sufficient, hasn't brought us back to some levels that we still like to get back to, and I emphasize get back to. But we are able, across the whole public system, as you know, not to raise tuition and fees. So this the year we're in now, all 29 campuses across the Commonwealth held the line on tuition and fees, thanks to the governor and to the legislature. And we're looking this year potentially to do the same thing if we get, frankly, and I'm talking to students now, the bucks, to operate a quality institution that you deserve. We're interested in that. So.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, I really do give credit to Governor Patrick, to the state Senate and the House that backed him up and said, we'll make a deal with the state schools. Don't raise your tuition and we'll put some more money in this. In other words, don't ask the students for more money. We'll put some more money in. We just need that, and we need it again and again.
Senator has time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Students, Trustee Ross, make sure you get in, but students, students, this is your opportunity. We got about 5 more minutes, so go ahead.
Hi, Senator. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
My name is Winnie Gomes. I'm a veteran and also go here. And unfortunately, I do not know the struggles as much as most of my peers is paying for school because I have the benefits, which I'm very grateful for.
You worked hard for them though.
For the benefits. But you had stated that we need to treat our children or our youth as golden coins. So my question for you is, what is in place right now to possibly work for our teachers? Because I believe that our teachers are the key here in order to have these children be golden coins. I think that having good teachers is the key, because we can go through high school and go to elementary school and not achieve anything. We can just, I see students just being passed along and passed along. So what do we have in place now to encourage better teachers, or to give them some sort of better incentives so we have more teachers and more qualified teachers, I should
Boy,
say?
Winnie, you ask exactly the right question. And the bottom line is, we don't have nearly enough. And we're just starting to think around this. We keep talking about it for 20 years now. All we've talked about are different ways to do K through 12, right? And we should do this on the front end, we should do that on the front end. Lots of science, lots of studies around it, but not nearly enough on teacher education, on helping teachers learn the latest and learn what it is that's been proven to work. You know, it's like every one of these is one-off. It just kind of grows one-off instead of what does it take to bring teachers in and help teachers be stronger and better at what they do. And I think that's just a key part of this. I also want to say on this, by the way, just a little bit, putting in a pitch, we need better principals too. And principals who know how to lead, principals who know how to help teachers, principals who know how to help the teachers who are really trying to make it happen, and those who are not, to counsel them out of teaching. Teaching is not for everybody. It's a calling. I really believe it. It's a calling, but it's also got to be a calling where you can actually make a living doing it. So it needs to be both halves in this. So the answer is, I'll put it this way. We've got kind of like a foot in the door on this that we're starting to work on. But we got to get past the idea that we just sit around and say to teachers, you're going to be accountable. We're going to have accountability here, but no real help as we go along. We got to aim this thing towards success, and we're running out of time. We cannot have another group of third graders make it on to fourth grade in a situation that's not teaching them what they need to know. And that's got to be true at ninth grade, and it's got to be true at 11th grade, it's got to be true all the way through the system. We got to do this. One more question.
Well, Senator, I'm Ben Coleman, I'm
Hi,
a
Ben.
student here. My question is, what can you do as our senator, and what can we do as, citizens of America to get the federal government to invest in education and reduce the loan?
Okay, so I want to say the rest of you, Ben is not a plant. Got to the last question, so what can we do? Low and slow the plate.
Not by me either.
Okay, my God. So this is why I'm here today. The reason I'm here today is we got to make change. And I'm going to do my part down in Washington. I will do my part as loudly, as energetically. I will do everything I can to keep trying to move the needle in the right way. It's why I said there are a lot of pieces to this. It's going to be partly about changing some of the federal streams to hold some of the schools more accountable. I want to say you guys have all done one thing really smart. You've gotten yourselves to a good public institution. We'll have another conversation someday about your friends who have gotten trapped in some of the for-profit institutions that are taking their money and not producing anything valuable for them. Well, I got to tell you, federal dollars are helping support those schools. We got to ask this question about using federal dollars in a way that really work for the students, and that means holding some of the schools accountable. But a big part of it is we got to be willing to make those investments. We've got to be willing to make the investments in the schools. We've got to be willing to make the investments in the student loans to help bring down the cost. I'm going to be working on this spring, this summer. I don't know how long I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to be working on it for a long time until we get some success on this. But to make this happen, we can't do this alone. We have got a whole group in the United States Senate that just says no new revenues, no new taxes, we can't stitch up any loopholes, which means no new money available to go to education. This is going to be a fight. It's going to be a big, noisy fight. And for it to work, we got to have a lot of folks on our side. So I'm here to say to you, if you really care about this issue, you gotta stay hooked up. You can do it now, you can come to my website, I'm, warrant.senate.gov. That was not a political announcement, that's truly, I'm your senator, you can go there, warrant.senate.gov. Just so you can stay linked in as we go forward. But this stuff is gonna start popping this spring. We've already got 2 bills written and introduced. There are gonna be some more coming very soon. I want you to be part of this, and let me say one second part about this. It's not just you. You're all hooked up to people all across the country electronically. You've got friends, you belong to organizations, you've got friends in other states. You got a dang good delegation here in Massachusetts. Help us put the wind in the sails. And that means making sure that your friends in Kentucky and Alabama and Nebraska are in touch with their senators and their representatives on this issue. So it's going to heat up. I need you all there. I will be there for you. I will fight. I will fight. I will fight. But for us to be effective, we've got to be in this one together. So, thank you all. Thank you.